This is Johnny Dosco. Stay tuned for another Scoresheet podcast. Holy Kadelka!
Hello, and welcome to another Scoresheet podcast. Today I'm going to be talking solo. I wanted to go over kind of a off-season schedule for baseball and give a few of my thoughts about the Hot Stove League so far and maybe how it affected your Scoresheet teams. And then next podcast we'll go back to having guests from one of the various fantasy sites. See, the first thing, just a quick brief rundown of the timeline for the next 3 months for Scoresheet Baseball. We'll be sending out the kind of sign-up packet right around New Year's, though there is an order form and information about our game and all that is on the web right now, but we'll be sending out a printed packet, which a lot of folks like to get something in the mail around New Year's talking about baseball, so that'll go out in a few weeks. We'll be putting up the 2014 player lists roughly January 21st. We kind of try to compromise. We like to wait a little while to give free agents and trades and all that time to kind of finalize so that players end up on the correct AL or NL player list. On the other hand, we know people are anxious to see what positions players have been assigned to and what their fielding ranges are, get some updated rosters. So we usually do that around the second, third week of January. Then if you're in a keeper league, we'll ask for your keeper lists right around February 10th. And if you're joining a new one-year league, we generally start the drafts for the first of those leagues in early February. Let's see, speaking of rosters, if you are in a keeper league that does off-season trading, please do send any trades you've made into us. Best way to do that is using the trade report link on your league's webpage. We will, or we have been, updating rosters with all the trades we've received. We do that every 10 or 12 days or so during the off-season. Let's see, speaking of trades, or maybe even if you're in a one-year league, but you're one of those guys who all the hot stove action has kind of got you a little excited about the upcoming season and you're already trying to kind of put together a little preliminary draft list. As I've mentioned in a couple podcasts with guests, I think one thing you need to remember with trades is it's not only the players that are getting traded whose value might change in a fantasy format due to the trade, but there's also ramifications as far as other players having jobs open up or maybe get closed down. You know, if you've got a kind of a marginal player on your team and as far as playing time, but the guy that was blocking him at second base gets traded away, then suddenly he might have a full-time job. One guy I've mentioned a couple times, Devin Mesicaro, is a catcher for Cincinnati. Well, that may not be a very good pronunciation of his name, but he's suddenly in line to really be their full-time catcher with Ryan Hannigan getting traded away. You know, he might go from a guy that now that he's a full-time catcher, you might even want to protect him as opposed to being able to draft him in the 22nd round. And then there's some obvious other ramifications. You know, Robinson Cano obviously is huge news this year. But one thing to remember is that Seattle is not nearly as good a hitter's park as far as hitting home runs to right field especially. So I'm not saying you shouldn't draft Cano, and obviously if you have him on a keeper team, you want to keep him. But I think you need to tamper your expectations down a little bit as far as his power. Plus, I just read a study in the Baseball HQ's Baseball Forecaster book that showed up yesterday showing that it was something like 65 or 70% of players who signed big free agent contracts kind of had a down year in their first year of their new contract. So once again, I'm not suggesting you trade away Cano cheaply or anything, but I think if you're thinking of trading for him, you might temper your expectations a little bit. Speaking of that book, Ron Chandler's Baseball Forecaster has been coming out as long as Scoresheet Baseball has been around. We both started in the late 80s. And if you're a serious fantasy baseball player, that book is fantastic. I got mine yesterday, and I've already lost 2-3 hours of working time because I can't tear myself away from it. You know, studies like how much a pitcher's value might change if the number of swinging strikes they got last year went up, or how many elite pitchers maintain value from year to year versus the percentage of average pitchers. It's not a book for just kind of lighthearted reading on the couch. It's pretty serious stuff, but if you like numbers and you like studies that'll really impact your draft strategies for the upcoming year, I can't recommend that book nearly enough. You can go to baseballhq.com to get it. You can go on Amazon. It's the Baseball Forecaster, and it's a great book. Of course, there's other books that'll come out, and there's tons of websites where you can read lots of information, but I'm kind of old-fashioned. I like a book. And this is certainly one that, if you're into heavy reading, is incredibly valuable. Moving on to some trades. I think park effects. I mentioned Cano. You want to pay attention to park effects. You want to pay attention to playing time, both for the players that get traded and, more importantly, for the guys on the old teams who are either going to lose playing time because now suddenly a team has a brand new second baseman, or maybe get playing time. I think another guy that's drawn some interest is on Detroit, Castellanos. My pronunciation today is a little bad, sorry. But he is the young guy that they kind of moved to left field. He's really a third baseman. They tried to move him to left field last year because they had Miguel Cabrera playing third, blocking him. But now the talk is Cabrera will move to first base, and so that'll suddenly give Nick a shot at winning the third base job. So I think that's a guy you might want to make a little note, keep an eye on during your draft. Things like that definitely make a difference. You draft a guy that in the 22nd round who turns out to be a full-time player and puts up pretty good numbers. That can be a very big help in your quest to win a championship. Like I said, next week we'll be putting up another podcast with a guest, and we'll try to get a little more specific on maybe sleepers you should target or the latest trades that will affect your team. If you don't see anything from me before then, I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a great holiday season. Thanks very much.